You worked hard all your life. You raised children, perhaps grandchildren. You sacrificed sleep, comfort, your own dreams, so that others could have a better life. And now, a young person rolls their eyes at you. They cut you off mid-sentence. They stare at a screen while you are speaking. Or worse, they simply don't ask. They don't ask for your story. They don't ask for your wisdom. They act as if the years you have lived mean nothing. If you have ever felt that sting, that quiet, deep ache of being dismissed by someone younger, then this teaching is for you. Because the Buddha had something very specific to say about how a wise person responds in these moments. And today, we are going to explore 4 things the Buddha teaches us to never do when young people fail to show us respect. These are not just spiritual ideas. They are practical, powerful, and they will change the way you carry yourself for the rest of your life. Stay with me. Before we go into the 4 things, let us first understand something essential. Respect, true respect, cannot be demanded. It cannot be commanded. It cannot be purchased or extracted by force. In the Western world today, there is a crisis. The old structures that automatically gave elders their place, at the head of the table, at the center of the family, those structures are dissolving. And many older people are left feeling lost, left behind, unvalued. But the Buddha saw this clearly 2,600 years ago. He taught that respect flows like water. It moves naturally toward wisdom, toward stillness, toward those who have genuinely become what they are asking to be recognized as. The question the Buddha invites us to ask is not, why don't they respect me? The question is, have I become someone whose presence inspires respect? Or have I been waiting for others to give me what only I can cultivate within myself? That is a difficult question, but it is the right one. Now, let us look at the 4 things we must never do. The first thing we must never do is demand respect. Now, I want to be gentle here because this is something many of us do without even realizing it. We demand respect when we say, out loud or in our hearts, I am older than you. You should listen to me. After everything I've done for this family, in my day, we would never have spoken to an elder this way. Do you recognize those words? I am not saying the feelings behind them are wrong. They are completely understandable. They come from a real wound. But here is what the Buddha observed. When we demand respect, we lose it. The moment we say, you must respect me, we are already coming from a place of lack. We are announcing in the most public way that we do not feel respected, and that we need something from another person in order to feel whole. There is a story from the Pali Canon, a story of a senior monk who was speaking in the assembly. A young novice interrupted him, not once, twice. The monks nearby were disturbed. They whispered, they frowned. But the elder simply paused, smiled gently, and said, "He has more energy than I do. Let us hear what he has to say." Later, when the assembly ended, every single monk, young and old, went to the elder with deep reverence. Not because he demanded it, but because he had shown them what real security looks like. My friends, dignity is not something another person can take from you. It is something only you can give away. When you demand respect, you hand your dignity to someone else and ask them to return it. Instead, become someone worthy of respect, not through age, not through rank, but through the quality of your presence, through your patience, through your stillness, through the simple, undeniable way you walk through the world. That is a practice that begins today, right now. The second thing we must never do is react with anger or bitterness. Imagine this. It is Thanksgiving. The family is gathered around a long table. You begin to share a memory, something meaningful, something you have been saving for just this moment. And a young person at the table, perhaps a grandchild, perhaps a nephew, picks up their phone. Or worse, they say, "We know, Grandma, you've told us this story before." What happens inside you in that moment? There is a flash of heat, isn't there? A tightening in the chest, perhaps a sting behind the eyes. And the temptation, the very human, very understandable temptation, is to let that heat become fire. To say something sharp, to withdraw loudly, to make sure they know they have hurt you. But the Dhammapada, the words of the Buddha himself, teaches us, anger is like a burning torch. If you pick it up to throw it at someone, you are the first one burned. When we respond to disrespect with anger, we do not punish the young person, we punish ourselves. And more than that, we burn the only bridge that could ever connect us to them. Young people today are not disrespectful because they are evil. They are disrespectful because they are lost. They are overwhelmed. They are anxious. They are moving through a world that is louder, faster, and more confusing than anything we faced at their age. They are not turning away from you. They are turning away from everything because no one has shown them how to be still. And you who have lived long enough to know that stillness is possible, you are the one person who could show them. But not while you are on fire. The practice here is simple. Not easy, but simple. When you feel the anger rising, pause. Take one breath. Feel the sensation in your body. And before you respond, ask yourself, if I react right now, am I teaching them something? Or am I just proving that I too have not yet learned how to be still? That is a courageous question. Ask it anyway. The third thing we must never do is withdraw into silence and self-pity. This one is perhaps the most painful to talk about because it is the most common and the least visible. After being dismissed, after being ignored, after being made to feel small, many people simply go quiet. They stop offering their stories. They stop sharing their wisdom. They pull back from family gatherings. They eat alone. They say to themselves and sometimes to others, "Why bother? No one listens anyway." I understand that feeling. I hold it with great compassion. But I want to gently offer the Buddha's perspective because it may surprise you. The Buddha taught that self-pity is one of the most seductive traps on the spiritual path. Why seductive? Because it feels like humility. It wears the costume of wisdom. It says, I am not demanding anything. I am just stepping back. But underneath the quiet withdrawal, there is still the ego, still the small self saying, look how much I am suffering. Look what they have done to me. Look how alone I am. The Buddha asked a question that I want to pass on to you now. He asked, "Who is the one that is being disrespected?" Sit with that. When you feel the sting of being dismissed, is it you that is hurting? Or is it an idea you have of yourself, an image, a role? I am the elder, I am the parent, I am the one who knows. The teaching of anatta, non-self, does not mean you don't exist. It means that this rigid image you are protecting is not as solid as it feels. And when we loosen our grip on that image, even slightly, the pain of being dismissed loses much of its power over us. But there is also a practice here. When you feel the pull toward withdrawal, instead of going inward with bitterness, go inward with metta, loving kindness. Sit quietly and send this wish silently to the young person who hurt you. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you find peace. May you one day know what it means to carry the kind of love that has no need for recognition. You do not have to mean it fully at first. You only have to be willing. And in that willingness, something extraordinary happens. The self-pity begins to dissolve, and in its place, something spacious opens. And now we come to the fourth thing, and I believe it is the most important. Never stop being a light. When we have been hurt enough times, when we have been dismissed often enough, we begin to do something very natural and very dangerous. We stop. We stop sharing. We stop teaching. We stop offering the hard-won wisdom that decades of living have given us. We tell ourselves, they don't want it. They're not ready. They're too distracted. They'll have to learn on their own. And in one sense, that may even be true. But here is what the Buddha teaches us about the nature of a teacher, a parent, an elder. You do not plant seeds because the harvest is guaranteed. You plant seeds because planting is your nature. I want to tell you a story. There was an old woman, a grandmother, who had grown very quiet in her final years. Her grandchildren rarely visited. When they did, they were distracted. She had tried to share her stories before. They had not listened. So she stopped. But one morning, her youngest grandchild, a boy of about 12, came to her and sat down, not to ask for anything, just to sit. And after a long silence, he said, "Grandma, do you ever get scared?" And something in her cracked open. She talked for 2 hours about fear, about loss, about the war she had lived through, about the morning she held her firstborn, about the day she almost gave up and didn't. That boy is now a grown man. He is a doctor, and he says that conversation was the one that taught him what it means to be human. She almost didn't have it. She almost stayed quiet. My dear friends, you are not here by accident. You have survived things that younger people cannot yet imagine. The grief you have metabolized, the fear you have walked through, the love you have given without guarantee, all of that is medicine. And the world, especially the young people in your life, needs that medicine, even when they don't know it, even when they're not asking, even when they seem not to care. Keep being a light, not louder, not with force, not with the expectation of thanks. Just keep shining. Now let me offer you the teaching that holds all 4 of these together. Because these are not just 4 separate rules, they are 4 expressions of one truth. In Pali, the ancient language of the Buddha's teachings, there is a word, upekha. It is often translated as equanimity, but its deeper meaning is something like a mind that is not moved by outcome. Not because it doesn't care, but because it has found its ground in something deeper than results. When you demand respect, your peace depends on whether others give it. When you react with anger, your peace depends on whether others behave well. When you withdraw in self-pity, your peace depends on whether others recognize your worth. When you stop shining, your peace depends on whether others are ready to receive. In every case, your peace is in someone else's hands. And the Buddha's entire teaching is about one thing, taking your peace back. Not by controlling others, but by no longer needing to. Here is perhaps the most paradoxical teaching of all. The elder who no longer needs respect becomes impossible not to respect. When you are genuinely free of the need, free of the grasping, the hunger, the wound, something happens in the room when you enter it. People feel it without knowing why. Young people especially feel it. Because what they are starving for, in a world of constant performance and noise, is someone who doesn't need anything from them. Someone who is simply there. Complete, still, real. That is the teaching. Not how to get respect, but how to become someone whose presence is itself a teaching. So let us come back to the four things. And let me offer them to you not as restrictions, but as invitations. Instead of demanding respect, inspire it through the quality of your presence, through your patience, through the way you meet difficulty with grace. Instead of reacting with anger, respond with stillness. Let your calm be the answer that no sharp word can give. Instead of withdrawing into silence, go inward with love. Send metta to those who have hurt you. Watch the bitterness soften into something vast and kind. And instead of dimming your light, keep shining. Not for applause, not for acknowledgement, but because that is simply who you are. You have lived long enough to know that life is short. Do not spend what remains of it waiting for permission to be yourself. You are already enough. You have always been enough. May you be at peace. May you be free from suffering. May you live each remaining day with the full dignity of who you are. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. If this teaching has touched your heart, please offer it as a gift to someone you love. Share it, let it travel. The Dharma has a way of finding exactly who needs it. Namo Buddhaya.